Welcome back to MSI Cooldown, where Augs, Raz, and I will close out day 2 of MSI 2022, where many teams have won 2 games or potentially lost 2 games. Let's start by briefly talking about that win, RNG over PSG. I think PSG put up a little bit more of a fight than I actually was expecting. However, it may have been because of some donations, some gifts on behalf of RNG in particular. Waze Volley.
What's the occasion?
Dude, I thought I Will Dominate 2 was fantastic. Will RNG survive Waze Volley?
I honestly, I wish I'd lost. I wish they lost, and I wish this had been a lesson to Way to stop picking Volley Bear. I had to sit through playoffs where this guy will pick it 2 games in a row. Tian will absolutely body him into the ground. The champ is useless if you don't get success early. And then he's like, oh, we're MSI, let's pick it again. The meta shifted. Look how much the Volley Bear prior was dropped, and you're still picking this. I was
Raz,
like,
can you believe the LPL cost is like,
that.
I wish they'd lost?
it would be a lesson. It would be a lesson he needs. Stop.
It will be interesting though, because I think the key for me here is that, like, as the G2 and EG reps that are completely unbiased,
Of course.
assuming they make it through, if they face RNG or when they face RNG, like, we want them to pick Volley Bear, right? We're hoping that can
They
play.
get no support from me. If Waylocks and Volley Bear and they lose, I will say good.
Yeah, Raz, final thoughts
my
on the
goodness.
RNG win over PSG, and
That
maybe
sounds-
touch on the substitute top laner for PSG as well.
Oh, of course, yeah. For Azia coming in, it's a little baffling. I think he played well under the circumstances.
Yeah.
It's just that it feels like PSG as a team is scrambling for answers at this stage of the tournament.
Well, definitely the case. We'd mentioned G2 and EG. I think game 1 of the day was arguably the most exciting. When we take a look at the early game, G2 absolutely smashing. They get a gigantic lead, and then Raz, this Baron call is almost a gigantic blunder that at least gave EG a shot at winning.
Yeah, it's incredible to see. I felt like that entire game was just the inspired show. And so when you saw that 20% HP Camille from Broken Blade, I was like, we have a chance. That's there, Baron buff. Even though we were in a gold deficit, inhibitors taken down, and there were multiple base defenses that I just hate coming out of the side of G2.
And honestly, as much as it wasn't a win for EG, I think it gave them hope, right? The fact that there was that comeback, even though it didn't last for the full game, they're going to play G2 2 more times, and I think this is just a real sign that they can take at least a game off them, so the hope is they'll find some momentum in the second half.
And I think one of the things that I was particularly impressed by, Caps' Galio, I'm always one of these people that when I see Caps or FLICKR or these supportive champions, a little part of my soul wants to go in a corner and cry. Because I feel like there is opportunity that's lost. However, during the course of this game, Caps was averaging higher than 10 CS a minute. He was like roaming and still maintaining a CS lead over Joji Pyun, and his Caps really help support the team.
I feel like they must enjoy playing Galio so much. Like, you have these high skill-intensive champions you're playing, then you switch to Galio, you got Predator, you just one-hit the waves, you're running over, like, look at me.
There's mechanics there.
There is mechanics, but it just, I feel like it's so much fun,
Galio
honestly.
enthusiast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's interesting. In the Targamas interview, he was talking about the fact that that was just the call of the moment.
Yeah.
The fact that they felt like they didn't know how to play the comp out, right? And that was a good lesson for them. I think it's great to take those lessons and experiences early. But it was just nice the fact that they were able to, at that moment, have that confidence to be like, yeah, we can take that turn.
You just gave me the excellent excuse. They picked a comp and not practiced. They didn't really know how to play. That's why they blew the 9K gold.
Yeah, it's
right?
definitely not
we just
a
figured
trend
it
with
out.
G2 during the regular season.
What I will say though is the Pyke priority is a surprise to me. Yinsu had her finger on the pulse. She talked about Pyke a lot beforehand, and I definitely was a bit dismissive pre-tournament. But Targamas is like blocking it super early. It's something that I'm interested to see what the answer is, not only from EG and Order, but how much it gets respected in Rumble stage, how long it sticks around for.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a punish to it. I know in this group, the laning phase is not going to be punished, so we'll see if that's going to be the trend later on, if that's something they can do. Or we've seen a few teams that are able to do this where it's like, who cares about the laning phase? Go towards the mid lane and top lane, especially when you have Caps and Broken Blade on your team to be able to get them further ahead. The weapon on G2 is Broken Blade and Caps, and I feel like that seems to be the understanding from Targamas, and it's working well for them.
FLICKR and Targamas doing pretty well by themselves, boy. Don't sell them short.
The one thing I will say is with the Pyke, it's a very feast or famine pick, right? And if you're not able to make engages happen, you're kind of just sitting there. So I feel like especially when you look at teams like T1, where Caitlyn has been such a priority in the Korean meta, if they have a hard punish lane like that, or something like Ezreal Karma, and you don't find the early pressure, like we saw the level 1 against EG, I feel like they could really struggle. So I think maybe later in the Rumble stage, that's where we see it punished.
These naysayers. I know I'm a G2 apologist right now, but if Saigon Buffaloes can punish T1's bottom lane, I tell you G2 can as well. Of course, these teams do need to make it to Rumble stage before those things will happen. We've got many more group stages to go. And of course, this is going to be a very bittersweet segment because on one hand, congratulations to the TCL. They pick up a win. They're on the board. They pick up their 9th victory against the CB LOL. The all-time head-to-head is now 9-6. But that game was chaotic. Orcs, I know I didn't get to speak to you about the reaction to it, but honestly, it could have gone either way. Control swung throughout, and there was no clear control, clean victory, really.
Yeah, it was such a back and forth, and there were some brilliant engages, right, from the Camille Galio again, where they were finding pivotal targets, and it was a good answer into the likes of things like the Tristana, things like the Ari, being able to pin them down so they can't use the escapes. But ultimately, I think such a massive factor was this Mordekaiser, who just in those team fights could disrupt your engage and then force a 1v1.
Yeah, great to see Starstream and Saren just basically stepping up. In moments where HolyPhoenix was feeling a lot of the pressure, the comp was built to kill him, and also in draft consistently, we were seeing teams just eliminate a lot of his champion pool and his effectiveness. But here we go. This is what made this team so strong in domestic play. It isn't just HolyPhoenix. Yeah. The praise was around Saren, and he was able to do that in the Ahri.
I mean, Raz, I'm so glad you brought up the drop, because I think RNG banned 3 bot laners towards HolyPhoenix yesterday. Today, the Wildcats, the RED Canids, they banned 4 ADCs towards him. I mean, definitely being like, we know who the danger player is, get rid of it, but it didn't have an effect today. What I do think is important, because of that loss and because of the fact PSG are now 1 behind, it does make that race for second very interesting as the group stage plays out. And of course, the substitution will add this extra element of doubt now as both Turkey and Brazil have to go, what are PCS going to do? You know, who's going to play? You know, it may impact their prep as we look a little further forward. And again, kudos to Yinsu. I begrudgingly say you picked the stronger region today, but there will be a bounce back and hopefully we'll be able to catch back up on the cards.
On that one, that
I mean, is there any indications that we can draw from the few games they've played, or is it still going to be up in the air and like PSG can play spoiler to Brazil and Turkey for that second seed to Rumble?
I think PSG could still potentially play spoiler as much as, you know, they had a pretty strong showing against RNG. I think that's something they definitely contested them. Still not the same PSG we saw last MSI, but I feel like no team in that group can rest on their laurels.
Final thoughts there?
Mentioned consistency earlier on, even though we saw greatness from Canids in the, just yesterday. It seems like that still needs to be the focus. These team fights are way too back and forth, so I want to see what the adaptation is tomorrow.
Yeah, and again, huge kudos to Turkey for taking on Brazil with Mordekaiser. That's fantastic. For more on that Wildcats victory from LA, Yinsu was joined by HolyPhoenix in our Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you very much, Trevor. I'm now joined by HolyPhoenix. Hi, HolyPhoenix. Welcome back to MSI. Last time you played MSI, you guys weren't able to quite overcome the Brazilian teams, but today you have gotten your revenge. How great does it feel to be able to beat them in this rivalry?
Our revenge is not over yet. Until we 2-0 them, we will just keep tryharding. But this win feels good. Of course, it wasn't an easy game, but winning versus Brazil is really a big thing for Turkey. And this is our first match. Second is on the way.
Well, it definitely wasn't easy for you. You know, in the draft phase, they were target banning all of your champions. Were you expecting that? And how did you kind of react to it?
Yesterday, RNG also banned those 3 champions. And then I picked Jhin. And Brazil also picked Jhin, so it was like 4 of my maybe best champions gone away. But I have a lot of things in my pocket since I am playing this game for over 10 years, I think. So in some point of the time, I was like OTP at one of those champions, so I don't really mind. They can ban 10 champions, I will just get 11.
Maybe the next team you play against is going to ban 5 of your champions just to try and stop you. Last time we saw you on the international...
They can try.
Yeah. Last time we saw you on the international stage, it was very much the HolyPhoenix show. You know, the Wildcats were all about you. But this time around, your teammates are really stepping up. So could you talk to me a little bit more about how you guys improved as a team over the last year?
I think the thing about last year was I was the only one with international experience. But this year, everyone has international experience. Also, this is our 1.5 year together, which makes our team a bit better. And I think Serin and Ferret are really good mid-jungle. They have really good synergy, and they become really good players. Also, Starscreen improved a lot with the international experience. I think the best thing was screaming with good teams, like LEC teams, and playing MSI last year. So we know what our mistakes was. Last year, I think we tried things that were not fit to us because other teams in MSI were playing it. But this year, we are just keeping it Turkish style.
I love that. And lastly, as you know, everyone at home in Turkey, they're watching you, they're supporting you. Is there anything that you'd like to say to them?
I love all of them. I will make you guys proud. Sizi seviyorum.
Thank you so much, HolyPhoenix. Seni seviyorum as well. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
You know that as well, all right.
Tabe kanka, tabe.
See you.
Thank you very much to HolyPhoenix. And Trevor, this was a great win, and I hope you enjoyed that one. Back to you on the desk.
I do not appreciate your sassiness. I do not appreciate that tone. Young lady, that was not appropriate. But HolyPhoenix was fantastic. Gave you a hard time. You're going to have a difficult time tomorrow. No chance, no difficulty, definitely in great spirits and a great mood. I mean, what I'm really happy about, right, is that as we were preparing for this event, doing our research, Yinsu came in and was very excited about the Turkish region, bringing a love from Valorant and an understanding of the scene. Layering that on top of TCL, but that rivalry between TCL and Brazil, it is one that we've always been aware of. We had the opportunity to give it that oomph.
Yes.
And in this chapter, TCL came out on top, unfortunately, once again. I mean, HolyPhoenix definitely happy, definitely under a lot of pressure, but crucially, his team stepping up to help pick up that win.
And I love that interview for a few of those reasons, right? Not only shouting out his players, specifically Farfetch and Starscreen, just in general, his player, he felt like his team leveled up from the international experience. Yeah. He felt like his mid jungle is incredibly strong, or his jungle support duo is incredibly strong. So like, there's a lot of credit being given to them, while also saying, I've played this game for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I've got more champions in the tank.
If they ban 10, I'll just get number 11.
Such a good line, honestly.
And over my 10 years, I've been a one-trick pony on everything. So, at some point, like, that's not the definition of one-trick pony. Nevertheless, I do want to move us along. Talk about a few things. I asked both Raz and Orgs to give me some insight into some of their key takeaways for the day. And gentlemen, I'm going to point to Galio just over there. If you can look up really quickly at Galio, because the reason I'm highlighting him is not only because, well,
he's big.
He's here, he's joined. It's Galio, hello. But also, Caps had a fantastic performance. And I think today, Raz, when I asked you the question, you said Galio Camille is what you want to talk about.
Yes.
Why? Tell me.
I mean, it's one of those things, you mentioned it earlier, actually, just yesterday. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
It's a very straightforward composition. It's something that we're seeing, we talked about a little earlier on about Caps specifically talking about it, saying that, hey, they may have not have played this composition throughout the year or had experience on it, but he felt confident with it, specifically wanting to experiment in it. We also just saw a little earlier on where it just bullies the top side of the map and side lanes in general, if you ever want to poke your head towards it. Danny felt the pain, in particular, on his Ezreal, because not only can it play through side lanes, but also in team fights can eviscerate the AD, just a target option. So I love the fact that it is now just showing its face in an international event, where a lot of the times throughout most regions, just no play was shown.
And honestly, I feel like maybe it could be inspired by RNG and scrims, because they didn't really get much chances to play it, because Camille is permanently banned against Bin. Like, it is just a perma ban throughout playoffs. He wouldn't get his hands on Camille, and yet they'd still play Galio. Like, to me, in my mind, Camille Galio is like ideal for them. So
I mean,
I feel like that might be a little bit of the
lady over there.
for it.
Oh, there she is.
There she is.
Oh,
There we go.
Where the hell did Galio go?
I mean, he's chilling in the back now,
Okay, fair.
waiting for this next turn to fight. But I mean,
Fair.
the combination works. Raz, can we build a little bit now? Camille, I think when the G2 comp, I think it was the G2 comp came in, all LPL customers was just like, this is just an RNG cosplay. This would be perfect for them. This meta is amazing.
Yep.
So what are the answers then? Like, if this is expected comp that could be seeing its face again, what do you want to see into it?
So tankier options, like the Scion or Ornn, are usually pretty good because they can eat the damage, and at least if they're expecting, it's pretty easy to expect the duo to come the set play of like pushing mid and being aware of it. The jungle's usually going to be a part of the play. Then you can usually stuff the play towards topside. I think some of the drafts today made it really difficult. In particular, when Evil Genius was picking, they still needed to carry top lane, so they picked Gwen.
Yeah.
Hard, but I love the option from Starscreen of going the Mordekaiser, which is an OG counter. Because, hey, if you're going to bring the Galio, let me just have some one-on-one time with the Camille and make her life suffer. So I want to see a little bit of that. Or if you can, pick those tank options in the draft, then awesome. I'd love to see a little bit more of that.
And honestly, even the Mordekai's, like when it comes to team fights, the Camille Galio is like a two-part thing.
Yes.
If you ult the Camille, it just means that you've kind of disrupted that whoever they target can get away.
Well, definitely works out in their favor. We'll see how much it gets utilized over the course of the rest of the group stage. Orcs, I'm going to turn to you now. Talk about the Umbral Blade, Glaive Braid, Graves, Umbral Blade, the itemization that's giving us all difficulty backstage. I'm just going to call it UG. The Umbral Glaive Graves. More specifically, though, tell me about the item. Tell me what you're liking about it and why we're seeing it so prevalent.
Well, I mean, even just this G2 composition as well as two builders, which is the Pike and the Graves. And I feel like the three picks we've seen so far is the Graves, Pike, and the Jhin, who have really flourished with it. And ultimately, it's like, it's so cheap now. It's 2,300 gold, and it's well statted, so you get that early spike. But it's just the passive, the fact that you can clear wards so quickly, so effectively. We've seen multiple times teams, DFM did this, G2 also did this both yesterday, where they sweep all the vision around the Baron, and then they just rush it. And it's like, it's so hard to contest vision, typically against sweepers, but when they're one-hitting wards and they can just proc the passive to clear more wards, it's like, it offers so much control while also giving insane combat power.
Orcs, I'm not the smartest at League of Legends, so help me understand. How surprised or shocked should I be about the prevalence we're seeing pretty much across games, right? Is this a team thing? Is this regional? Is this a meta thing? Help me put it on scale.
Yeah, I think ultimately the buff was really significant. I think that's why it's came in. And going into this, I expected to see Graves because a lot of people were playing it in solo queue, but seeing the Jhin and seeing the Pike pick up in priority was a bit more of a surprise. But I think it's just so strong. I mean, you think about, everyone always talks about macro decisions and vision in League of Legends, how important it is. The fact you can deny it so heavily, you suffocate the enemy team. And if you do snowball on a pick like Graves or Pike, who do snowball very effectively, it's just so hard to contest against.
Final thoughts, Raz, before we move on?
Yeah, it's the combination of just the recipe being really effective. So it's like you'll always feel strong at every step of the way. And as you mentioned, cheap. So it's just one of those things that people have to recognize it, be patient around it. I want to see more Pike. I want to see if that's going to be something that spreads around.
I want to see more Pike as well. Cheap as chips. The Umbral Glaives, Graves Blade. Let's take a look at the standings after day 2 of MSI 22, where a number of teams will have 2 wins. The number of other teams will have 2 losses. I just like the 2 twos. More seriously, though, Buffalo's win over DFM was gigantic in Group A. That throws the door wide open, not only for the Saigon Buffaloes, who were victorious in the matchup, but also for Team A's to potentially look for some surprises or potentially throw a spanner in the works. One thing I do want to call out is both T1, RNG, and G2, all former MSI champions, remain undefeated. The expectations on who was at the top of the group is true, but second in the group is now a little bit more up in the air, Orcs.
Yeah, I think particularly for Group B, where a lot of people are looking at PSG Talon as maybe living up to their previous hype and being able to take second. So then a bit of a rough spot, still definitely able to claw that one back, but got a lot of work to do, especially when there's 2 teams above you in the standings.
Definitely makes it a lot more exciting. Just on a 2-pronged fact, just yesterday we saw how damn good RED Canids were, and then today we see that slapback from the fast-paced Wildcats and that regional history and the rivalry that's there. Even just hearing from HolyPhoenix how much he feels
You can feel it,
Yes.
right? So we need to see who's going to come out on top. And of course, we need a few more games to figure that out. Tomorrow's schedule, 6 more matches coming your way, starting 9:45 Berlin time with Countdown. Once again, Evil Geniuses will open the day. They play against Order, but this time around, Order will have 2 games in a row. They face off against G2. I mean, Raz, which matchup are you most looking forward to when we look at tomorrow?
I would say, just based off our last conversation, PSG Talent and fast-paced Wildcats, we need to see some life in PSG Talent. At some point, this needs to be that game.
Orcs,
Yeah,
which game do you think is the most likely to have an upset? There's a tough one.
I would probably say Order Evil Geniuses. I'm convinced Order are going to take games off EG, and maybe even G2 as well.
I'm with you, 100%. I can honestly see Order winning both, at least one game against each.
And I know, I feel like they were close in that first one where they had the Karthus draft and then they just kind of fumbled at Baron.
Yeah.
I feel like it's possible. Might not happen tomorrow, but I'm definitely waiting for him ready.
Just because I have you here and I have the power to do this, Raz doesn't get to talk now. What do Order need to do to beat Evil Geniuses? That's going to be the last thing we talk about before I throw.
I feel like ultimately you can either target the mid or you can target the bot lane, but I want to see fast-paced gameplay, right? When they had a strong mid laner with like the Yone and they had the Karthus to play around it, they could really find momentum. but we've seen G2 make it work, right? You have textbook examples of how to beat this team.
Now, I will let you in because it's just not fair. Evil Geniuses versus Order. Odds of them being upset tomorrow.
That's not happening. It's quick, simple confidence. I'm even pulling it from the interview that we saw earlier on for Jojo.
There we go.
There it is.
That's it. Okay, we'll find out. That is, of course, going to be opening up the day tomorrow, followed by G2 Order. That is a wrap for us, yeah. For day 2 of MSI, please do not worry. There'll be more League of Legends starting with, once again, Order versus Evil Geniuses. Enjoy the sunshine, everybody. Summer is here in the Northern Hemisphere. We'll see you soon. That was awesome. Good job.
I'm feeling it.
It's really
Matter of fact, we creeping, now we sneaking, enemy highs, we be seeking, lurking the waters and bushes, oh man, cool dodge, we deepin', all of